Today, of course, is our annual Ekphrasis event. We're honoring writers and artists working together by responding to each other's work. It's dedicated to Doug Fortier, who was one of the founders. It's in our 11th year, and we do it in conjunction with the Artists Co-op of Mendocino. So special thanks go to Karen Reynolds. Karen, just wave, and two-handed wave, that's good. She's the curator of the online exhibitions and does pretty much everything from the artist's perspective. Catherine Brown, I don't know if Catherine's here today. If you are, Catherine, wave. She was the curator of coordinating all of the writer's sides of the event. And Nona Smith, wave, who is the upcoming coordinator for Writers of the Mendocino Coast. And Nadi Bumbo, of course, has produced, is the producer today of the slideshow. Also, Lynn Zuckerman Olson is the gallery coordinator. So this exhibit will be up in the gallery through the end of the month. So come by and see it. It's really a lovely exhibit. So let's get started. The first 9 pieces were written by a writer, and then an artist responded. And after that, we'll do the next 9 pieces, and those were artist initiated and writers responded to what the art that they received. Okay, so the first person is Lynn Keysweater.
So
Nadi, yes. Oh.
Yeah.
So Nadi's going to put up on the screen.
There we go. Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Okie doke. So.
And then Lynn will read.
And is it supposed to be the picture that goes with my poem?
I'm getting there. Hold on.
Okay.
I got all the stuff on my screen.
Can you give the name of the artist for each piece, please?
I'm going to do all that.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm a little new at doing these particular things, and I'm having a little bit of trouble because it's not.
While he's working on that, Shanti
I'm
Benoit.
sorry. I'm really sorry. This is so awkward, but there's no way for me to progress through this. Oh, there it is.
There we go.
There we go. So the initiating writer is Lynn Keysweater. My friend Nina is the title, and it's based on a response by What Lurks Below by Shanti Benoit.
I just wanted to say that the Nina of this poem was my babysitter when I was a child. She's 15 years older than me. I hadn't seen her since she was about 20, and we reconnected because she's a poet. She has a poetry show on KPFA, and I heard it one day and I thought, there can't be 2 Nina Serranos. And that was about 5 years ago. And she's a major part of my life now. I had a cancer diagnosis. I asked her, how do you deal with terrible things that are happening in your life that you're anticipating? You don't know what the outcome is. And she said, I said, what? She said, just push it away. Just push it away. And at 90 years old, that was the best advice that anybody had ever given me. So here's what my friend Nina said. Once upon a time when I was sinking in despair, obsessively brooding over an imaginary outcome still to be in the future, my friend Nina said, better to live in denial at times like this. So I took her advice, I took it to heart, phonetically, and I looked in old National Geographic magazines to find photos of denial, to hang on the walls surrounding me, to remind me that I didn't have to sink. Better yet, I didn't even really have to think about how dangerous or deep the water might be, no matter what swims below me in the murky depths. Sharks, anacondas, stingrays, I can't see them. Give it to me. I can't see them, so I'll just pay them never mind. But if it's mermaids, I'll hear them sing.
Thank you. Nona Smith is next.
Okay, I'll wait for Mary Ellen Campbell's beautiful home. And here it is. Thank you, Mary Ellen, for creating a really imaginative response and producing and actually capturing the woman with the messy hair and her middle finger attitude. This is called the Blue Sedan. Mary Beth had been sitting in her car for 3 full minutes, the motor purring, her hands tied around the steering wheel. But she wasn't going anyplace. She couldn't. Once again, she glanced in a rearview mirror and saw the blue sedan idling just inches from her back bumper. Clearly, the driver wanted her space. Parking was at a premium in this Starbucks lot. She'd circled it twice herself before she'd found a spot. This is stupid, she said. 1 minute more and I'm going out there. She began to count. When she reached 30, she checked the mirror again. 4 cars, now 5, idled behind the sedan. One of them honked a long, impatient blast, but the sedan stayed stubbornly put. Was the driver unbalanced, crazy as a loon, or just plain pig-headed? By the time Mary Beth counted to 60, she'd worked out a plan. 2 plans, in fact. Briefly, she worried about executing Plan A. There were lots of stories lately about road rage and shootings. Still, what was the likelihood of being shot over a parking spot at Starbucks? She turned off the ignition, unfastened her seatbelt, and slipped out of the car. As she approached the blue sedan, the driver's window slid down, and Mary Beth saw a youngish woman with hair gathered into a messy, high ponytail. She felt a modicum of relief. No guns were in sight. "You're waiting for this parking spot?" she said to the messy-haired woman, who pinched her lips together and nodded curtly. "Well, I'm afraid you're not going to get it," Mary Beth said, in a voice usually used to calm a young child having a tantrum. "I can't leave because you're blocking my car. And there are 5 cars behind you who I'm pretty sure won't all back up so you can claim this space." "Well, I'm not leaving," the woman said, and eased her window up. For a moment, Mary Beth stood in stunned silence. This was insane. Then she remembered she had a plan B. She walked back to her car in measured steps, grabbed her purse, and locked the car door. As she walked past the blue sedan, she nodded, gave a hands-out shrug to the drivers in line behind it, and headed back to Starbucks. While she was drinking her low-fat decaf shade-grown latte, this situation would sort itself out. And I'd like to introduce the next reader, Nadia Osa.
Is Nadi here?
Yes, yes, I am. I was.
Oh, good. Okay. I didn't see her before.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful illustration. Okay, my poem is called Picture Perfect. You scan the view and frame the morning. Dewdrops, luminescent ladybugs dot the hostas, and like diurnal fireflies, flame and fade in the grass. At the bottom of the slope, an array of trees, shrubbery, a clump of purple iris arrests the eye. Whose hand here is the master gardener? A stroke of red across the canvas. Insert the bird in the picture. Insinuate the pretty, 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 pretty song. Then stride into the frame with a child by your side. Grip his hand tighter. Take the next step. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Blackwell is next.
Michelle, you might be muted.
Sorry, there's multiple excerpts from a short story called The Dream Pill. They're disjointed a little because they come from different parts of the piece. It will be complete in the next anthology, so you won't have to wait too long to hear the whole story. Sender is walking towards the cross. He can feel the thorns tearing at his skin and the trickling of his life blood on his temples. But he is not concerned. It is not what he imagined when he took the pill. Of course, they warn you, it could be a nightmare as much as a good dream. But he's still feeling elated that he can walk and move of his own free will, except for the guards. But it is so much better than his regular dreams, so much more control. I really want to fly, he thinks. Doesn't everyone want to soar over the earth like a hawk? He sees the other two beggars hanging from crosses. Where are their crowns? And just thinking it, the beggars suddenly have crowns, but theirs are made of, what is that, cicadas? Oh yes, it's the year of cicadas. Can't stand those buggers. I'll take thorns over cicadas. As he nears the cross, the guards come to a halt. They lay him down and he can feel the hard wood pushing into his spine. Then they strap him, and instead of hanging the cross, they carry it away with him on it. Sender is thrilled that he has this power to navigate with purpose in the dream state. It's as if all his work in artificial intelligence has transferred into his brain, replacing the barrier between consciousness and sleep. The question is, how much time does he have left before he must return to the body? And how long can it survive without consciousness? He gravitates to the roof of the hospital and looks over the parking lot that surrounds it. He leaps off, opening his arms wide and feeling the sensation of air flattening the hairs on his chest. He concentrates, and yes, he can lift himself on the air currents. He soars higher and circles the buildings. To the north, he sees the bay and the baseball park. He uses the currents to join the seagulls circling over McCovey Cove while the game plays below. The scattered crowd noise is muted from his advantage. He hears shouts as a ball leaves the park and heads towards the cove. He realizes he is in the path, but hasn't his power gone past the physical realm? The ball smashes his temple, and to his surprise, he loses balance, his wings fold, and he tumbles toward the cove. The water feels like ice when he enters, and it shocks the head pain away. Where did these wings come from? A kayaker is speeding towards the ball, and he has to dive to avoid his oar. He swims towards the dock, knowing hypothermia could kill him in minutes, but the wings slow him down, so he imagines fins. The feathers shed and sink into the bay. Standing in the operating room, Sender sees his body under blue sheets. A surgeon is cutting his scalp with some kind of saw. I should get in there. He lays on the body, but nothing happens. He cannot seep into it. Think, what did the instruction booklet say? Let go to return, but how? How do I let go?
Thank you. Sharon Bowers is next.
Okay, and this picture is Karen Reynolds. Okay, it's called The Opening. Let us make the scene at the show in the artist space, with heels high and necklines low, at a stoner's pace, in veils of shimmering lace. I shall go in leather, and you in cool, black as a raven's feather, more sensational than a diary of Warhol. We shall slip through the noisy crowd at a breathless pace. We will whisper over loud music upon white wine by the case, under small talk clouds. We shall slink in tight circles where the art crowd goes. Paintings will hang like angelic smoke on the stark white walls. We shall crash the scene at the opening show.
Thank you. Norma Watkins is next.
Hello.
Be sure you have your
Yeah.
sound
Okay.
off, everybody.
Yep. This is a room full of light. Elise sits outside the cafe with her cappuccino, which has grown a little cold. She likes hot coffee and iced coffee, but warm coffee tastes slightly disgusting. She sips, observing her fellow caffeine addicts. Not so many in these days of social distancing. The girl to her left is here every morning, her hair tied back in a bandana, squinting into her laptop. Her fingernails look ragged and bitten. A cold sore blooms at the left corner of her mouth. Elise pictures the girl's dark apartment, a mattress on the floor with tangled sheets in need of a wash, the laundromat too far to walk, a job as a waitress, a boyfriend who cheats. More likely, the girl writes code for a startup and makes more in a month than Elise makes in a year. The man straight ahead sits with his daily bagel and the Wall Street Journal. She watches him break off small pieces of bagel, dabbing each with a smear of cream cheese before popping it into his mouth. She notices how he wipes his mustache after each bite and folds his newspaper neatly into quarters. He drinks his tea from a china cup, the used tea bag resting wetly in the saucer. She imagines being married to him, the way she'd have to dress and speak, and remember to put the salad fork on the outside. She imagines him in bed with the mustache tickling, enduring proper Republican sex with the lights off and no unseemly noises, washing up after in separate bathrooms. Her morning fantasy goes like this. A new man enters the cafe or exits with his coffee since there is no indoor seating. He looks around. Is this chair taken? Indicating the one opposite her. She shakes her head no. He sits, stirs sugar into his coffee and looks up. His eyes are like a door into a room filled with light. Without question or a moment for doubt, she follows him to a house so perfect she dissolves there or explodes like the tiny bubbles in a glass of champagne. Francis, her actual husband, pulls up the chair opposite with an irritating scrape of metal on concrete. He flops into it, his face still creased with sleep. Did you order for me? Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn Whiting. Oh, I'm sorry. It's actually Nancy Harris McClelland is doing the reading. Here we go. Is Nancy here?
I thought I saw her. I thought I saw her and Lou.
Can
I
you,
thought I saw her too. Oh, there you are. Okay, unmute. You're still muted.
Can you hear me, Susan? Priscilla?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you.
Nancy, you need to unmute.
am I unmuted?
Yes.
Now you
Good.
are.
Okay, sorry. The title of the poem is Pareidolia, which is the definition is the perception of apparently recognizable images in random arrangements. Half-formed apples drop in midsummer heat, out of season. Winds carry a whiff of death from fires in every direction. Apocalyptic, repeat the talking heads. on the television. Do I see the Apostle Peter in the smoke? He did promise fire this time. He said it was our collective fault. Maybe pride blurs our vision. Perhaps there's nothing to see but the indifference of the elements.
Thank you. Next is Mary Ellen Minette.
Yes, hello. Yes, I'm Mary Ellen Minott, and my piece is historical fiction. And thanks to my responding artist, Lynn, who used one of Catlin's portraits as her model, you see here created in exquisite detail Tin O Pot. He was a North Carolinian Cherokee, and his name translates to bloody hand. Thank you, Lynn, my newfound kindred spirit, and thank you to everyone that's made this event possible. So my piece is entitled The London Literary Gazette. Piccadilly, Saturday, February 2nd, 1840. A riot broke out yesterday in the main gallery of Egyptian Hall during the opening of Catlin's Indian Gallery. The exhibitor, George Catlin, 43, hails from Pennsylvania, USA, and since bringing his Wild West show to our shores, has achieved celebrity status and is a sought-after speaker. He has addressed both the Royal Institute and Royal Geographical and Historical Societies. His recently self-published book, Letters and Notes of the Manners, Customs, and Conditions of the North American Indians, has a long list of notable subscribers, including Her Majesty, Queen Victoria, and His Royal Highness, Prince Albert. The exhibit, created by Catlin himself during his 7 years of travel amongst the wildest and most free Indian tribes roaming the vast, little-known wilderness west of the Mississippi River, consists of thousands of objects of Indian manufacture and hundreds of Indian portraits, as well as startling paintings depicting dances, buffalo hunts, religious ceremonies, and unbelievable scenes of self-torture rites. It was previewed by both the Duke of Cambridge, the Duke and Duchess of Sutherland, and the Duke of Wellington at a private showing 3 days before being opened to the general public. The gallery was packed to capacity, and the curious audience was captivated by the performances of specially trained actors with painted bodies and faces, wearing splendid costumes of war eagle bonnets and hieroglyphic covered buffalo robes. The actors sang the songs and demonstrated the yells and the war whoops of the Indian tribes, thereby creating a stir of excitement by bringing the ways of the Indians to life. When Catlin began lecturing, he described Indian culture in unexpected terms different from what the general public believes. One audience member took exception, shook his fist, and yelled, "Indian lover." The crowd turned on the man and fists began to fly. The actors dispersed into the crowd and a commotion ensued. People rushed for the exits in panic. The police were called in to quell the mob. The heckler was taken into custody, but released when Catlin refused to press charges. No one was injured. Catlin states his exhibit will remain open. He will be in attendance every day to answer questions and will continue to give formal evening lectures. Admission is 1 shilling. Thank you.
Thank you. Les is next.
Okay. Is that all right?
Beautiful. Very smooth. You ordered a glass of champagne.
Okay.
I'll get it.
I don't see Les.
Again, I saw him earlier. Let me ask everyone again, if you're not the one reading, please be muted. Les?
It looks
where
like
are you?
Norma,
Saw you
Norma,
earlier.
Norma got up, so I assume she went to look for him.
Les.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, Les, you're on. You need to.
Okay.
You did. Okay, good.
Start reading.
Oh,
Honey, just
I
read.
can't see my,
Doesn't matter.
oh, okay.
Just read.
I hope you can hear me.
We can.
Great. In 1950, I joined the Navy. And I'm going to read a true story of one of the many weird experiences I had while in the Navy for about 3.5 years. While my ship, the USS Girardi, underwent heavy-duty maintenance, we were out of service for 3 months. So I was put on permanent shore patrol in Charleston, South Carolina. That's the Navy equivalent of military police. On work days, we traveled in pairs. Our main job was to enforce proper behavior of sailors, correct uniforms, no public inebriation, and everyone out of the bars, of which there were many, by 11 p.m. We normally spent our watch duty in central Charleston. One night we decided to check a different neighborhood. So we drove to a nearby black area and stopped in front of the Benbow Bar and Grill. It was past 11 and we saw 2 sailors at the bar drinking beer. So we went in, moved toward them. The bartender got in front of us, holding a .38 caliber revolver, which was pointed straight at my chest. His grip was firm, steady, and the look on his face was all business. Get the hell out of here. We left quickly. Back in our van, we were stunned. We knew race was an issue in Charleston, but pulling a gun on shore patrol, every bar in town knew that sailors couldn't drink after 11. What had we just seen? Was this a racial issue? Or had we done something wrong? I was off duty the next day and thinking perhaps the bartender believed we were being racist, I decided to go back and explain our visit. I was in civilian clothes and the place was empty and the same bartender was there. Sorry about last night. We were just doing our job, the same job we do in all the bars in town. I had a friendly grin on my face. He reached below the bar for what I thought was a glass to pour me a beer to indicate he understood. Instead, he pulled the same .38. Get the hell out of here. I did and drove straight to the Charleston Police Department. The shore patrol worked with the police and I felt comfortable talking to them. I explained what had happened to a large cop wearing sergeant stripes. He listened without expression until I finished. And then he says to me, get the hell out of here.
Thank you. So we're now starting the part where writers are responding to artwork. And the first person is Windflower.
Thank you, Susan. I'm glad to be here. Resetting Bones. This is my poem. Milk spilling, spilling, an elliptical galaxy across the night sky. Spinning, we crash on the night waves of dreams. Waking, no cracks in the femur of the world, no tendons, no ligaments on high alert. Squandering the day among peach blushed flowers folds, sleeping in silence, turn to snow. Thank you, and now it's Susan Fisher.
Thank you.
Unmute here. Hello?
Yep.
All right. My piece is called Finding Meaning among the elements in a collage. I looked long and hard at the collage. I looked close up and from far away. When I stood back, I saw yellow paint strokes that recalled daffodils. When I peered with my nose 6 or 7 inches from the surface, I could read bits of fine newspaper print scattered across its surface. The meaning of the words obscured because the sentences were cut off at their beginning and end. My eyes settled on 2 newsprint slivers. One clearly said Robert Rauschenberg, a name I recognized. Rauschenberg was a famous modern artist. In the early 1950s, he produced a controversial body of work called the White Paintings. As the name implies, they were entirely white, with very subtle variations on the color. You can still see them in museums around the world, and they continue to cause irritation to some viewers. In the first decade of the 2000s, Yasmina Reza won prizes in France, England, and the US for her play Art, about a trio of friends disagreeing about a white painting purchased by one of them. White paintings represent much of the modern world that we do not understand and suspect may be a joke at our expense. In the 1960s, Rauschenberg moved on to mixed medium collages, and he became grouped within the pop art movement. Innovator that he was, he kept evolving, pursuing new art forms throughout his life. The date in the second tiny bit of print was June 18, 2008. At first, because it was placed so near the other, I thought it must be the date of Rauschenberg's death, but not so. He died that year, but in June. So what was its significance? I Googled the date and found nothing important, but aha, it was the date of death for a famous illustrator and writer named Tasha Tudor. I had no idea who she was until I saw photos of her covers for The Secret Garden and A Child's Garden of Verses. I recognized these images from my childhood. I researched her and learned she was more famous for her farm in Vermont than her decades of literary work. Tasha Tudor was a proponent of living off the grid long before that term became a thing. She wove the cloth for her clothes. She grew or raised all her own food. She eschewed modern conveniences. She drove most of her children and her husband away by her obsession. But people travel from all over the world to see the farm, which has been preserved after her death. Apparently, she is particularly venerated in Korea and Japan, and there are Tasha Tudor societies. I have no idea if the contrast between the hip Robert Rauschenberg and the traditional Tasha Tudor was intended by the artist who created this collage, but I made this connection and I'm sharing it. An art piece as a puzzle is a great deal of fun.
Thank you. So Karen Lewis is next. Unfortunately, she got stuck in an airport early this morning and is probably hopefully on an airplane now. So I will be reading her piece. She said she's sorry to miss the festivities today. So her piece is Treasure Hunting. At the Lighthouse Benefit Rummage Sale, both people reach for the antique chair at the same moment. It's elaborate, wrought iron, traced with rust, missing a seat. The chair feels rough to her touch, and she attempts to untangle honeysuckle vines from the chair's enameled legs. He grasps the seat back, grins, says, "I saw it first." She notices effervescent brown eyes. "It's all yours," she offers. She dusts her hands on her jeans, but it matches a bistro table I restored last year. Stellar jays chatter from cypress trees, waves crash on shore, the planet spins, unseen stars glimmer. "It reminds me of my grandmother's garden," he says. "We used to play pirates and organize the chairs into a ship. Sounds fun." I had forgotten how fun it was. He steps back. "Look, how about I help load this into your car? Might not fit, I drive a Mini Cooper. Maybe it's a sign that the chair belongs at your place. Or I could deliver it. Pirate sometimes drives trucks. Well, if you'd stop for a cup of coffee." The wind lifts her straw hat and spins it into the chair. They laugh. You'll see the matching table. Next, we have Maureen Epstein.
And am I now unmuted?
Yes.
Great. My poem is 5 Sunflowers. 1. Whistle of incoming missiles. Mother and child stumble to safety. 2. Burnt sunflower seed meal, acrid in skeleton of grain terminal. 3. Clinging to each other, father and son watch rescuers dig through rubble. 4. Volunteers offer bowls of pasta, golden as sunflowers. Children smile. 5. Rusting Russian tanks litter grey farmyard. A single sunflower rises. Thank you.
Oh, lovely.
And the next responder is Holly Tannen.
Can you hear me? Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My friend and I have had our shots, so we decided it's safe for me to invite him in. We sit on either side of a big oak table, watching steam rise from cups of pu'er and chamomile tea. He reaches across the table and hands me his tea bag. The little tag on the end, like all flat surfaces nowadays, is inscribed with an inspirational quote. "Friendship is a sheltering tree." Samuel Taylor Coleridge. I put the tea bag on one of my altars, humming the tune of an old sea shanty. Friendship is a sheltering tree, shielding us from wind and rain. Next day, I sit under a tree trying to find a line and a rhyme. A pair of geese pass overhead, honking. Flying birds call you and me till the day we meet again. So few hours together, so many hours apart. I swipe half a line from an English wassail song. Friendship is a sheltering tree. Friendship is a flowering tree. Bud and blossom, branch and fruit. I extend the metaphor. Kind and kindred souls agree. Green the stem and deep the root. He says, people tell me our friendship is weird. I say, it ain't weird, it's wove. Weird comes from the Anglo-Saxon weird, destiny. In Norse mythology, Urd is one of the Norn queens who tend Yggdrasil, the world tree. The roots of Yggdrasil connect all life. The Norns weave human lives together. Likely and unlike combine, weird and woven, fierce and free. Tomorrow I'll hike to the tree as dark clouds bring the rain. It ain't weird, it's wove. Twining rhizome, ancient shrine. Friendship is a sheltering tree. Sing with me if you like. Friendship is a sheltering tree.
Thank you. Let's see, Elizabeth Kirkpatrick Vranios is next.
Thank you. I want to say that my poem, each line in my poem actually spells the word, if you put them together, spells the word lipstick, just to let you know. You might not be able to hear it, but you could see it. It's called Waken Goyle. And I want to say thank you very much, Stephen Gardner, for your picture window lit. Okay, Waken Goyle. Lower the shade, will yez, dearie? I don't like that sun in my eyes or the neighbors peering in. Put your cash on the chair, sweetie. Want to take your shoes off too? Give me a boybin then, you know. You know I'm sorry for all those Goyles. You gotta go to work every day. Ooh, careful. Not so hard, dearie. You're killing me. And the next person who's reading is Bill Mann.
I think Bill came in.
I'm here. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm a poet responder to Deborah B. Lennox's vivid, gorgeous oil painting, Full Moon on the Grand Canal, which you see in front of you. Since my response will be undoubtedly the shortest one of all of the wonderful things we've heard today, I think a little background to my response is probably in order. In human psychology and couples therapy, there's an exercise which enables partners to peer into each other's soul. You simply sit about 3 feet apart and stare silently into each other's eyes, preferably for several minutes. As an experiment, I substituted Deborah Lennox's painting Full Moon on the Grand Canal in place of a partner. Then I stared at Deborah's artistic work on and off over a period of several hours. When you go to the Artist Co-op Gallery to visit Full Moon on the Grand Canal, you'll observe the iconic Venice Canal, its unique architecture, and basilica buttressing the still water. And there are 2 gondola pilots, which you see there under the moon's lovely light. One of the pilots is mostly obscured in the background. But more importantly, we see a young female in her empty boat, flowing long hair, wearing a leather cap and surrounded by rich detail and symbolism within the interior of her gondola. Of interest to me, the young woman has turned away. She's distracted by something or someone that cannot be seen. That mystery of Deborah's painting inspired me to write 3 lines containing 17 syllables entitled Haiku Painting Story. And here's my response. Turning away from the there and the here in her recurring dream. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And next is Priscilla Coman.
Are you
Make
muted,
sure-
Priscilla?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm responding to Bob Rhodes' beautiful painting of lines and roads. Routes, boulevards, Paris streets, See how straight they are and neat? On Air Canada in 1995, we fly, drink Dubonnet cocktails in the sky. To our apartment on floor number 5. A metal lift takes us there. With groceries, forget the stair. A strawberry crepe on Rue de Voltaire. In April it rains, but we don't care. Umbrellas bloom overhead. We walk as soon as we're out of bed. On Rue de Mouffetard, patisseries tempt with whipped creameries. At Notre Dame, we stop and stare. The ancient gargoyles hear our prayer. In the Tuileries, the children sail their boats. At the flea market, I buy a coat. Black leather catches everyone's eye. Like the French models, I feel great, so we go out to celebrate. The Moulin Rouge with gorgeous babes, a feast of muscles earn our raves. Then on to Père Lachaise to see the famous in their graves. The Place des Vosges is on our list. Rodin, Picasso studios can't be missed. Then the Louvre and Mona Lisa's smile. Every day we walk 8 miles. We are getting older and the days feel colder. Our love grows stronger, though we're not younger. We sip our French wine. When back home, we relive the time. Our feet in pain from walking Paris in the rain. And our next participant is Nancy Wallace Nelson.
Okay, I think I'm muted there. Okay, I'm responding to this most amazing piece. It was quite interesting to live with for a while. And here's what I came up with. Zoomorphic phantasmagoria. Step right up, buy your tickets here. Don't miss the thrills. Thrills are the world's largest show of zoomorphic phantasmagoria with dizzying slates of hand. Step right up. Don't be shy. Step right up and don't stay in suspense. Buy your tickets now, 2 for the price of 1, tonight only. See human faces shift to animals. Swirled images flow and morph so fast your eyes will hurt. Step right up, ride the frenzied waves of changing imagery, continual surprises. Face a bit of fear, a lot of awe. Live dreams fantastical. What you thought unreal will convince you. What you thought real will blur to insignificance. Once you see, you will never unsee. You'll be wiser, richer, expand your world tonight. Step right up, 2 for the price of 1. Best to take your lover with you.
Thank you. So that's it for Ekphrasis. Thank you. Big round of applause to everybody who participated, artists and writers alike.